Hey, what's up everyone? Paul from Grindhouse Funhouse, and today I want to talk about In a Violent Nature, a new Canadian-made slasher and then directed by Chris Nash, whose best known work before his debut here was directing a segment of one of the ABCs of Death anthology movies. There's something a bit different about this slasher, is that it's shot almost entirely through the killer's point of view. So from the jump, you either roll, or in this case, walk with the premise of following a Jason-like killer in the forest for 90 minutes doing what he does best, killing dumb people, or you say that shit is slow and boring and you mentally check out. It all starts with a camper who steals a locket from a collapsed fire tower in the woods. Turns out that fire tower wreckage is the resting place of Johnny, a rotting hulk of a man who was wrongfully killed 60 years ago. He reanimates and becomes hell-bent on retrieving that locket, and lots of killings ensues. I read it described as like an art house Friday the 13th mixed with It Follows, which I think is a pretty apt description. The movie was shot in a 4:3 aspect ratio because the director wanted to tap into how it felt for him watching the Friday the 13th movies as a kid. Long stretches of this movie is just going along on a nature walks with Johnny, the camera behind him, and we follow him through beautiful Ontarian sceneries, with a few jump cuts here and there to move the action, and thank God for that. Walking aimlessly until he hears voices in the distance and he gets laser focused on finding them. That's when it'll switch to a static wide shot so we can see him in action just slashing away. There's no musical score, just the soothing ambient sounds of the forest. You'll hear a few songs peppered throughout, but it's mostly nature sounds you'll be immersed in. So all of that does enhances the viewing experience that makes it different from the myriad of other slashers that came before it. I would have to say that the backwoods slashers are actually my favorite kind of slashers. 1981's Just Before Dawn, for example, is at the top of that list. Go watch my review for it if you haven't already done so. And I'd say that In a Violent Nature is the total opposite of Just Before Dawn, where you do miss the music, a good story, and characters you actually root for. This feels tensionless. The fun of a slasher movie is that you don't know where the boogeyman will come out of the dark to attack. We, the audience, were on the same level as our protagonist. Here we see everything he does, so there's no real suspense. Another thing that doesn't help is that we don't care about any other victims at all. The only character name I've retained in my brain from this movie is Johnny the Killer. The rest of the characters, all the victims, I have no damn clue what their names are, and I don't think I would be even able to pick them out of a lineup even after I had just come out of the theaters, and that's a problem. I mean, you get a feel for at least one of those people wanting to get out of it alive, right? We get no backstory on any of them. They're just campers in the woods, but we do get the backstory around the campfire, of course, of why Johnny became the rotting hulk of a man that he is. Also, I gotta say, none of the acting is particularly good. Now, was that on purpose to match the feel of an old school 80s slasher? That would be a good excuse. Also, on a technical level, I don't know if it's me getting deaf in my old age, or it was in the theater I was in, but the sound mix, their dialogue, half of what they were saying I could understand. And that's also a big problem if you can't even follow that. Now for some positive, when it comes to the violence and the gore, which I'm assuming that's the reason most of you will probably watch In a Violent Nature, boy howdy do they deliver on that front. There's undeniably cool kills in this, one in particular that I feel will become an all-timer, which is the yoga scene. You see these two hooks here? That's what's being used in that kill to get a poor girl being folded into a pretzel. It's f***ed up. The other characters are getting smashed, limbs severed, heads being cut off, bodies mangled. Mix that with some pretty disgusting sound design and you'll have your money's worth if that's where you're there to see. So, should you go see In a Violent Nature? As a concept, I think this was better as an idea than an execution. There's some good gore and creative kills, but the little we see of it in the movie can't sustain a 90 minutes runtime. You gotta feel at least a bit engaged with your protagonist and get more out of the story than this very thin plot line of getting his locket back. And you know what? I get it. That's what slashers movies are supposed to be, at least the ones that does the bare minimum. But this one's being sold as an experimental art house slasher movie. I was expecting more. Some of the kills in the movie goes on for way too long. Like at some point, it just becomes comical. Like, we get it. Can we move on? Oh, and that ending, which went on like 15, 20 minutes too long. I don't think they knew how to finish it. They had a perfect end point, but they decided to stretch it past that with the final girl who, by the way, I was like, was she in the movie this whole time? Again, If you're asking a question like this, it's not a good sign. She gets rescued by this lady, and as they drive away to the hospital, she goes on and on and on and on about a story of someone getting mauled by a bear in those woods. And as I was watching it, I was saying to myself, who cares? Be done with this already. So yeah, it's not bad, but it's not good either. See it for the gore, some of the creative kills, and I guess if you ever wanted to be a killer in a slasher movie and see it through his eyes, slashing people up on the big screen in beautiful, serene nature, then that's possibly the movie for you. In a Violent Nature will be in a theater near you on May 31st and then moves on over to Shudder to stream for the rest of time. So that was my review for In a Violent Nature. Go visit all my socials at Grindhouse Funhouse in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on In a Violent Nature and let me know what is your favorite backwoods slasher movie. As always, thanks for watching and I'll say to you, ciao bye for now.